everybody. Joseph Rothschild here, aka... Is that enough for you, Dyer? She didn't put it in the last video. I just sort of assumed that you would know what the video we've been making every week for the last... Anyway, today we're talking about bad things. Last week was a celebration of all the things that we enjoyed in 2023, but today we are going to instead put on our hater hats and see what we can make fun of. And I want to begin with my favorite event of 2023, the Platinum Dark Magician. For those of you that haven't seen my short, this was released after the wild runaway success of the Platinum Rare Blue Eyes White Dragon. This 99.9% silver card colored in with a platinum finish retails for about $1,300 USD and unsurprisingly did not sell very well. The Yu-Gi-Oh accounts retweeted this "hurry, hurry, buy now" tweet like 5 times, and thankfully they were laughed down every single time. Keep this in mind if they ever plop out another one of these. Oh my god, Exodia Platinum Rare. Oh man, I'll never forget Cross Duel, despite the fact that it is quite easy to forget Cross Duel. Since our launch in July of 2022, we have been blessed with great support from many of our players. It's with a heavy heart that we will be ending service in September of 2023. My more serious answer is just the longer I stay on Twitter, the more I see TCG players not being normal about OCG players. And it's like, Japanese people can still hear you. I've heard many air their grievances of randos in their mentions and comments, making assumptions about the format. I call this deck Cringe Labyrinth. It's like regular Labyrinth, but with cringe-ass lingering Floodgate. People think Japanese people can't read English. Well, that's because English people can't read Japanese. We just kind of assume that everyone is as ignorant as we are. Round 1 of YCS London, where half the players didn't have pairings and had to stand in a huge line while the round was being played, like 100 people got an automatic round 1 loss. It was an absolute travesty. I was there! I was in the line! I can't believe they actually fired it. Like, it was obscene. This coming out at all. Blech. It gave us reprints from the last few sets, but its rarest or most expensive card from this set isn't even a reprint of any of the sets. It's another Dark Magician. Tire tin is a massive waste. Yep, very true. It's weird that they, took all of the reprints people wanted and doled them out into, 15 different products, and also this one looks like shit. It looks terrible. Most formats in 2023 were pretty good, and none felt extremely oppressive once we got rid of tier, except for 2 weeks in the middle of May. It was cool to see Super Heavy Samurai as part of a tier 1 meta deck, but, it was also very cool that we didn't have to see it for very long. Vanadium Prime Heart has a special defensive ability that stops your opponent from targeting it with card effects. So if you're unfamiliar with this is, the Yu-Gi-Oh ban list was way overdue for a period of time, and instead of releasing it, the TCG account was tweeting shit like, "Hey, have you checked out Vanadium Prime Heart's blades?" We killed Kid Kalos for this. It's so wild to even talk about this, because certainly this was not fun or fair or interesting for anyone involved, least of all the individual at the side of the table that is currently winning. But it also wasn't a good deck. It's strange to think a deck with the capacity to do this was tier 1 just by virtue of the fact that there were no other particularly unfair strategies. Some of the most frustrating Yu-Gi-Oh I've ever played involved these cards that feel woefully underpowered compared to the rest of the meta, doing something it really should not be allowed to. The rarity gouging. If we had OCG's ratios and multi-rarity spread, the game would be more accessible to players. Absolutely true. Do not look up the price of the Diabell Star Core right now. Do not do it. World Champs. Finals were cool, but seeing people get invited to the most prestigious tournament and play in a lunchroom was pretty upsetting. The finals of the World Championships was played in a really cool arena. They had all these fireworks and things going, but they were like, oh yeah, but pools, we're gonna do that in the back rooms.
How do you actually escape the back rooms, and what happens when you do?
Though this just happened a few days ago, but the Rush KC Cup Stage 2 was horrendous. A tier 0 meta, nearly 50% Dragon, 66 if you want to count Ancient Arise Dragon, wanted to grind, but almost all my games were against Dragon, not to mention the ban list afterwards. I really don't have anything to say about this. 2 incredibly baffling lists back-to-back in late November takes the cake for me. I know Zoo has only been legal for 8 days and hasn't warped the game, but it's still a ticking time bomb with 3 Barrage. It was wild that they released a ban list for Master Duel and then they were like, oh shit, hold up, there's more. We got to take off some of the dragon rulers, right? Master Duel festivals were actually really solid this year, but these two were pure hell. One was released right when Labyrinth began its reign of terror, basically only Fluffles and DD could compete with it, and the other had assembled Nightingale and Max C spam that made the game insufferable. The ban list they published in the middle of the YCS, the ban list was fine. The timing? What exactly was the point of this set? It is literally just bad reprints, with maybe the exception of Natbeast, Barkion, and Skill Drain, and the other 10% of cards aren't even part of the Hidden Arsenal lore. Peep the card list. What on earth are DM and GX cards doing in here exactly? Like, I know that a significant amount of the Hidden Arsenal cards did need reprints. I mean, Naturia Cherries is on there and is one of those cards, but sneaking them into other sets is probably the way, not publishing an entire pack full of cards that most people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. I feel really bad realizing how shitty the new player experience for the game was. I never really understood why so many of my friends were opposed to sharing this hobby with me. In a way, though, now that we've identified the problem, all that's left is fixing it. And I'm sure Konami is working very hard to do so as we speak. The 5-month gap between ban lists for sure. Having zero communication about the ban list is so dumb. No sooner than is sadness. We don't even get no sooner than anymore. We get a couple of months. I'm going to have to go with the fact that Rush Duels were introduced in Duel Links, but in such a way that it was basically impossible to play them seriously without breaking your wallet. I was looking forward to it, but the price is just awful. It sucks there isn't a physical version. It's unbelievable how bad the bag has been fumbled relative to Rush Duels. We have people chomping at the bit in the TCG to play an easier version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Look how long this year we talked about how the introduction to the game sucks ass. We have a slick new product with easy to understand cards and a balls to the wall playstyle just lurking in the edges of production, but it just hasn't made it. Instead, we got it ported into Duel Links into a monetization model where you have to spend $400 on fake cardboard to even compete, and I know that the minimum number of people who play it is going to be used as justification for never bringing it to America. They just don't like Rush Duels for some reason. I think the overall rarity absurdity of cards like VS and Centurion basically being unobtainable without buying 15 cases of a set no one wants shows that Konami just doesn't know how to balance sets anymore for budget and high-end competitive players. I just have to wonder what the purpose of this is. Like, is the concept they think no one's going to purchase a deck build pack unless they have to purchase a whole bunch of it to get the good archetype out of it? Like, just think about that for a second. What's the purpose of a deck build pack? It's that you buy some amount of it and that enables you to build a deck. It's in the name. But for some reason, they're like, no, the good deck that people will want to build has to be high rarity, so they have to buy a lot of the deck build packs in order to build it. No one buys cards like that anymore. If someone wants to build a deck from a deck build pack, they're going to go to tcgplayer.com and purchase them. The only person this helps out is someone who has purchased a bunch of these to flip them on the secondary market, but even then that doesn't help because one of the 3 archetypes being good means it's never going to be able to justify the MSRP of the actual set. It's just a lose, lose, lose all around, and it's happened like 3 times in a row now. Miserable. I'm gonna miss seeing this guy in Sub Replay Friday. Coder's now unbanned, but at what cost? All in all, 2023 has been a watershed moment in Yu-Gi-Oh! Hating. Hopefully we can exceed it in 2024. Let's just make sure we're directing it at the right place. Dire. That's not 2023. It has to be something that actually happened. I'll tell you right now, Dire. I'm pulling it up. You won, Dire.